I forgot to almost make this live. I was sitting here talking and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even put this out into YouTube yet. I had scheduled it and didn't even put it out to you guys that we were going live today at 3:30, which we always do every single Sunday, where I meet with a real estate agent from around the country. This week is no different. We have a lot to talk about because there's all sorts of things that are going on in the real estate market. Just like always, make sure you put your questions at the bottom of the screen where you put the word, you'll just write the word question, and then we will go ahead and answer it, because a lot of times during the week, the live streams go really quick. Today, we have a very special guest on, a friend of mine. You might remember from one of the classic hits for my channel. It was Cottages versus Tiny Homes. Her name is Ellen Pitts, and she is a real estate agent out in the Carolinas, the Carolinas, and she's going to be talking to us about her real estate market. Also, I have a couple questions that came in on a few videos that people wanted answered, so we're going to get to those. And we're going to have a couple articles that had come out, and I want to get her opinion on it. Hello, construction cronies and Eddie Smallhorn. Welcome to the stream, and welcome Miss Ellen Pitts. Yay, everybody give Miss Ellen Pitts.
Having me.
Give her a little round of applause. Everybody do one of these, round of applause. You can put it in the chat too with a little clap that she's made it today. So Ellen, I don't know if you've seen this or not. There's an article that just came out from CNN, and I'm gonna share the screen here. And it was talking about the affordability crisis. Now, there are some people that claim that there is no affordability crisis, that we are totally fine. But it says millennials almost have no chance of being able to afford a house. This is what can be done. What do you think?
I don't know about millennials. I definitely think there's a huge group of people that are being priced out of the market right now for real. In my area, we have a lot of tech and a lot of pharmaceuticals and biotech and things like that. So I think a lot of the millennials are fairly higher earners. So maybe what I'm seeing in my area is maybe a little different than what's nationally. So I wouldn't classify it as millennials being priced out, but there's definitely being, the middle. What it looks like to me is what's the middle class, or what used to be the middle class in small cities, is now becoming the poor. That's what it looks like to me.
You have nailed it right on the head, because yes, more millennials are getting in the market than they ever have in the last few years. But the thing is, and I had this I heard this guy from Housing Wire. I keep bringing it up because it burned my rear end so bad. He was like, there's more millennials buying houses than they have in a long time. But the millennials that are able to purchase are people that have high end jobs. There's a 2-family income and they have high paying earning jobs. So the people that were used to be able to afford a home, like school teachers, firefighters, police officers, can no longer afford a house.
100%.
So, and that's a travesty. The solution that was given by this guy from Housing Wire, this is the part that burned my rear end. If anybody doesn't know, Housing Wire is bloggers. They're bloggers that talk about all sorts of things in the economy. But Housing Wire specifically said, the guy said, well, we don't have an affordability crisis. He said those people wouldn't want a house anyway. He said, we need to have more rental units that are affordable. So investors, I thought that was as soon as he said that, I'm like, you've got to be out of your mind if you believe that people don't want to buy a house, that they prefer to rent. One of the biggest ways that people earn wealth is in real estate.
Buying a house. Absolutely.
In real estate. That burned my rear end so bad. I couldn't believe he said, I bring it up every single week because I can't get over that he said this.
Yeah, no, that's one of those real estate people that really has their own best interests in, rather than the actual interests of the people that they're supposed to serve. I don't know what his position was other than blogger. Maybe he's an investor, but
economist. He's an economist.
An economist? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, What is the solution? I have no idea what the solution is. Probably migration. I mean, because what's causing this is migration. Everybody's moving from high cost of living areas to lower cost of living areas, and it's changing the economy in those lower cost of living areas. And it's exactly what I said, people that were middle class in Raleigh are no longer middle class. Now they're poor and they can't even afford a house. And besides, the rental prices are going up too. So we have rental units, but they're expensive. So as rents go up just as much as housing prices do. So how does that solve anything? I think this is the story of the ages. I mean, migration has been not a problem. It's what happens when places get overcrowded. People migrate to places where there's more opportunity. It's difficult on the people who get displaced, but this is kind of like the cycle of life. I don't know.
in the article, it said the Austin market is like many around the country is hot, like really, really hot.
Crazy.
It's the second year in a row that Austin has been named the nation's top housing market by Zillow, with Elon Musk proclaiming that Austin would be the biggest boom town in the country in the half century. That's tough for. It's tough for the writer. It says tough for me to hear. Scrimped for and saved for years for the Army Corps and $1,000 a month and doing everything I could to build up my credit score in a savings account so I could buy. But with a low inventory, it seems impossible. So yeah, and that's the thing is that local people that would have normally had an opportunity to purchase a home in that Austin area, it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And that's
we're gonna have to go somewhere else. And the problem is there's not very many other places to go if you want to be in a city. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to have to migrate to small towns and build a small city out of the small town. So, but it's not fair because it's like the people in Raleigh who built this city are the ones being displaced. And this is, they've built something beautiful. So now everybody else wants it. You know what I mean? So it's a little like,
my brain is so crazy because when you said and we built this city, all of a sudden I said
on Rocky Hill,
we built this city on Rocket. No, but I know. But here's the other thing that people aren't talking about that is happening in some of these areas that have like exploded in real estate is that they're not seeing foreclosures. And it's not just because of the foreclosure, forbearance, that type of thing. It isn't just that. So the amount of homes that have entered the market that go to these auction houses are immediately scooped up. And you're going to like, guess who's buying them? Do you know who's buying them?
No, but I downloaded some spreadsheets from my MLS to go through because it was crazy. The number that looked like anyway, who's buying them? I don't know. I have some research that I was planning on doing, but I haven't done it yet.
I'll be interested to let you know. Well, what has happened in a lot of these other cities is the big corporations that have come into this specific area are buying the foreclosure homes, scooping them up, fixing them up, and renting them out to their employees because their employees can't find a house. So instead of allowing those houses to hit the market so their employees could purchase them, they're purchasing it so their employees can rent from them. So they're paying them. Nice. Yeah, so I know, right?
Home and what the heck? That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's sad. It's sad.
Why don't they resell them to their employees so that the employees can actually own something?
Because they can use it as a write-off. What are you talking about? This is tax America. This is the craziest part. Oh, I want to go ahead and show you something too. We're going to get to some of the comments in just a second, but I want to, I did promise somebody beforehand that I would address a comment in this. Okay. So John G says, I'm seeing extremely bad reviews with horror stories about major manufacturer modular home builders. They're saying the salespeople will tell you anything, but their actual build quality is shaky and the customer service is horrible. They have obvious defects in their homes and the builder won't fix them. Customer services apparently tries to bounce you back and forth between the dealer and the manufacturer until the warranty runs out and they wash their hands of you. Could you address this in the future video? How do you trust in the home you're going to buy and the people you're dealing with? I'm more interested in the modular for the reasons you've pointed out. This is has me concerned. All right. This is where you check with the Better Business Bureau. Before you even invest in any modular home company or manufactured home company, check to see the reviews that you find on the Better Business Bureau. If you cannot find anything in there, or it just kind of looks like somebody paid to put a bunch of nice reviews in there, go to their Facebook business page and see what else has come up. Now, if they have a Twitter handle, like on Twitter, this is the place where people love to complain. Find that modular manufactured company on Twitter, find their hashtag or their @ symbol, and see what other people have tweeted to them and see what their complaints are. Because a lot of times people will add photographs and everything else if they've had a major problem with their homes. Lastly, I would try to find somebody else that has purchased one of these modular homes. Contact them through social media sites and just say, look, I saw that you purchased one of these houses. I wanted to know what your experience was because I was considering buying one of those myself. What can you tell me about the company? A lot of people will be very forthcoming in telling you on their experience on buying a home with a specific modular or manufactured home company. So what do you say, Miss Ellen Pitts?
About modular and manufactured home companies?
Yeah. So,
I've never dealt with them before. I don't think I've ever sold a modular or a manufactured home.
Really?
Really? We don't have a lot of them here. We
wow.
Don't.
Yeah. Oscar says, he has a question. I don't know what that means. Why are you hating on cash buyers? I'm not hating on cash buyers. I'm not hating on cash buyers at all. What I'm saying is they're driving up the price for people that are local in the area that can't afford a home and that we don't have enough. I'm just stating fact.
Yeah. So the point is, there are people that have more resources than the people in the areas where they're moving to. And so it's displacing a people group. That is what's happening. And it's not like you can tell people you have resources, don't use them. There's no easy answers to this problem. But it is a problem. So it at least should be talked about and brought to light, there are lots of buyers that wanted to buy homes this year and they literally can't. I'm actually going to start researching. I'm planning on doing a documentary actually about this very issue. And I'm going to be starting a new channel. And the first several videos that I do are going to be documentaries about people being displaced by this housing boom. So I'm going to be doing interviews with these people. And I'm curious if people ended up relocating to other, like I was saying, small towns or less desirable cities or something like that, just to be able to buy a home because they can't buy one here. So I'm just curious what's happening to them.
I'm in a small town outside of Baton Rouge. And even in our small town, and I told you this before we started the stream, we only have 196 homes for sale. That's from 0 all the way to $6 million. We only have 196. And then I was just because I know my house, what price range my house will be in. So I was looking, I just took it from $200,000 to $350,000 just to see how many homes were in that specific price range. And there was 28. And of those 28, 25 of them were proposed construction. So there's really only 3 houses in that window for sale. So if you wanted to sell your house right now, you could sell it pretty darn fast, but where are you going to go?
Yeah.
And that's the problem that a lot of people are saying. They're like, yeah, I know I could get a lot of money for my house, but where am I going to go?
Right.
Where am I going to go?
Yeah. I was looking this morning. Our hottest price point is $400,000 to $500,000. So I was trying to find okay, what's really happening? I know the transactions that I deal with and what offers people make, but I wanted to see in the last couple of weeks, what has happened and things that have closed recently, but there aren't any closings. There'll be 2 closings for an entire city. And, I'm well, that doesn't really tell me much. There aren't houses selling because there aren't houses being listed.
There isn't, but there is, I've been saying this because there is a silver lining. And I know that some people, my parents' age, they didn't want people in their house during this time.
Sure.
So they were like, I'm not putting my house up for sale. I don't want a bunch of strangers coming through my house. My dad has had cancer twice. They're still on the fence if they want to do it because they're not sure where they're going to go. But I do predict that as things start to settle into the new normal, there are going to be more people that are putting their house on the market. I don't know if you saw this. it was on Fox News, it was on MSNBC, and there was even a video, like a clip that came out. But Coldwell Banker says there's going to be 1 in 5 Americans that own a home currently that are thinking about selling their house within the next year. And I'm like, that would, I was like, I don't know where they got that statistic. I'm like, what?
It must have been a survey. It must have been a survey they did.
Yeah, it was. It was only like 2,000 people. I read the whole thing. It was like 2,000 people and 1 in 5, but still, I was like, that'd be great. Where are these people at? Because I got a lot of buyers that are sitting there like wanting a home.
Well, a video that I did recently, I pulled a stat that said 56% of people were planning on moving this year in 2021. So if 56% of Americans were planning on moving, and that's like 160 million people or some crazy number of people like that. But that would seem like many of them would already be homeowners and would be selling. So that makes sense.
I do predict, because of the fact that a lot of people ended up staying where they're at, and a lot of companies within the company say, well, we're not going to transfer you right now. And this is the time of year when they start transferring people. As those like restrictions and all these states start, moving around, they're going to start moving employees around again, like they used to. So, even people that I know that work with companies, like we have Shell Oil here and all this, Exxon, even Folgers, some plants, they have not been moving executives like they normally do.
Okay.
And then I know a person that said they're going to be getting a few listings that they're moving some people. So maybe as the world opens up again, then
things will start opening up in real estate. That would be wonderful.
Yep. Homes are like cars. Anything else is individual willingness to pay. Wait a while, because the high prices will definitely go flat soon. For a lot of people, Steve, not soon enough. I mean, like when? I thought for sure once those interest rates ticked up just a scotch, that it would make some people drop off. It did not. It actually made them even more hungry. They were like, oh, I better get in before it even gets even higher.
I think we've got 3 to 5 years of this, honestly. If 56% of Americans are thinking of moving, I can't remember. So how many Americans? 369 million Americans in the country, something like that, times 0.56. That's 200 million people. 200 million people thinking. It's going to take a while for all of those people to actually move. That's not going to happen in 1 year.
I think that we're not going to really see the real true ripple effects of what has happened until 2023. I think that's when we're all going to be like, damn, remember when we were like, couldn't even find a house to sell, and now we have all these. And the reason and then somebody said, you're just guessing. And these are educated guesses, because I've lived through one market and I've seen numbers. We still have a unemployment problem that everybody seems to be brushing under the carpet. The unemployment numbers that have been coming out recently have said, one number, which it looks really, really great. It's like, oh, wow, people are getting back to work. But they haven't accounted for all the people that are no longer on the charts, because after you've been out of work for 6 months, you're considered not even, you're not even on the charts anymore. There's a lot of those people that aren't on the charts. I wish I could pull it up, but it's for my video that's coming out on Tuesday that shows the actual number of people that have just stopped looking for work. They have tried for over a year and they're no longer even looking for work, but they are not working.
So like early retiree, are they taking early retirement, or
they just can't find a job? So that's like, they've almost like given up, they've given up now. Like if you haven't done a job for over a year, sometimes it's like some employers are like, forget it. You don't even know what you're doing anymore.
I wonder what kind of industries, like when I was looking into the type of industries that took the biggest hit in the last year, it's travel is a huge one. Anything to do with vacations, and generally restaurants, hairdressers, but it seems like mostly kind of service oriented businesses. And I actually ran some numbers, and the average hourly wage was like $19 an hour. So I don't know how many of those people would actually be homeowners. of the people that have been out of work for the last year. Probably not a huge percentage of them is my thought.
But people need to consider this. A lot of times there's a couple involved. So that individual may not own a house, but him and his wife might own a house. And this is her job this is his job and she makes the money, right? But they make just enough money to pay for their mortgage payment. And if she is not working, they are check by check families. And if she's not working, they're not going to be able to afford their mortgage. So in their minds, they're like, okay, I'll take that forbearance. Once that forbearance is over, which is June 30th, 2021, after that, you can no longer file. They only have a few months before the banks start foreclosing.
Yeah.
So, and then if they did take the forbearance and then they took the additional months after the forbearance, because you can file up till June 30th, but you can still take it for a few months afterwards. Once that ends and they still don't have a job and they can't make it, then they're going to get foreclosed on. And people are saying, well, they'll have equity in their house. Well, the equity they're not going to take the equity from that house and say, well, you're behind all this. We'll take the equity and roll it back into your house and you'll be fine. That's just not how this works.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope they'll be able to just sell their house because the houses have, the housing market's so hot. But if there was enough of those people, it may not be the case. It may not be the case. So construction cronies, he says, prices are insane. I'm a builder myself, and I just can't believe the trends. Everyone is out of maximum profit and have to inflated costs. Years ago, I think he was 2 or 3, maybe even 4 years ago, he bought a house. He was afraid that he bought it for too much money. He lives in Canada. I bet he doesn't think that he bought it for too much money now. He did get a good deal. He really did. Let's see. I offered 25 above asking price for a house in Port St. Lucie. I know where that is, actually, in Florida. I was outbid. I was going to wait until next year and see if the ridiculous market calms down. I don't think it's going to calm down the next year. That's for sure.
I don't think so either.
The interest rates are going to climb up, but it's just like I said, there isn't enough houses on the market right now. A lot of people that would have considered selling because they're in a financial bind are getting a reprieve from the government. I can't see it happening with the fact that the forbearance allowance has been extended for so long. At the beginning when it was supposed to end, I was like, by the summertime, you're going to see a lot more houses for sale. Well, of course, that's not going to happen. You can live in your house for free. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that could happen is by the time the forbearance runs out, we'll be back to more of a normal and more businesses will be open and things like that. So people will be able to find jobs and then they can just refinance and take that cash out of their house to pay off the forbearance. And, so their mortgage payment probably will be very similar. And I mean, interest rates have gone up, but not that much. I mean, they're not that high.
They're just a little bit. I always joke.
Really good.
My first home, I think the first time I ever bought it, I got a 7.5 interest rate, and people were
That's what we had too. That's exactly what we had our first house.
They were like, "That is fantastic! You did so good." And then, the following year, the interest rates went down.
It went down to 6. A year later. Yep.
Yeah. So, but they're going to have to go up at some point. They're just going to have to. The value of the dollar is going down. That's another problem too, is that a lot of very wealthy people know that the value of the dollar every single day has decreased in value. So they're investing in a lot of hard assets. Most investors that are house flippers are like, the market's too high. I'm not even going to purchase a house right now. But other investors that have tons of money, what they're doing is buying land and hard assets, because that's how you save your wealth. So that's what they're doing. So it's like, oh
yeah, I don't know enough about economics to understand how the strength of the dollar impacts the housing market. I just don't know enough about that, but it is interesting.
Yeah, well, if you want to save your wealth, you put it in hard assets. That's you always put it in real estate. The tried and true at the end of the day is gold, silver, and real estate. Yeah. That's what ultra rich people do. It restricts what homes are affordable after those cash buyers sweep up these homes that used to be affordable for the average middle class family and newer millennials or even some older people too. Well, that's happening everywhere. Mm-hmm. If the cash buyers, and I understand, don't get me wrong. Look, if I came from, let's just say I moved from Canada, where the average like house,
Out of
which is
control. Yeah.
the size of a thumbnail, like it's a 500 square foot house, and I just sold it for $1.5 million and then moved to Louisiana with, 600,000 in my pocket. I would be
You've
like,
got a
I felt like,
palette.
yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like I won the lottery. Wow, what amazing. I don't blame them. I really don't. It's
Of
just that
course.
it's unfortunate for the people that have lived in that area, have worked in that area, have made the income that was sustainable in that area to have an affordable living that has driven up the cost so much that their town where they work and live is no longer affordable for them to live there anymore. That's what makes it sad.
So this is an interesting idea. So a lot of people that are coming here, they're coming here with jobs that they're keeping in California or other high cost of living areas. So if the California market is going to pay wages that don't support the cost of living in California, because the reason everybody's coming here is because California is too expensive. They can't afford to live there on their California wages, but they're coming here. And so they're changing our economy. Shouldn't those companies that are based in California do something for, shouldn't they do something for us here? I mean, if they're not going to pay what their people are comfortable living on there, and so they're coming here, don't they owe us something? You know what I mean?
Well, whenever companies go into a new area in most states, except for Louisiana, they are required to pay certain kinds of tax dollars to help improve schools, roads, all those things that make the quality of life in that city better.
But they're not here; they're there.
Right. But
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm
saying. Should there be some kind of a tax like that if they're going to pay wages that mean that their employees are going to want to live someplace else in another state?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how you can even police that. But he says it's going to happen, ladies. Like you said it before, you got a rude awakening. The crash is set to happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm probably one of the only people that says it's going to happen. And I've been ridiculed to death, saying that I'm an idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're not looking at the hard numbers. No one has these kooky loans. And the only reason that the 2007, 2006 crash happened was because of bad lending practices. And they're the only ones to blame. And no, there's a lot of different factors involved. And I'm seeing the big picture. I thought it was going to happen a lot sooner than it did. And it hasn't happened. I really honestly thought by this time this year, when the first stimulus package came through with the CARES Act, and once the moratorium was over, we were going to see a lot more houses coming up for sale. I openly said that on many videos, but once they kept extending out the moratoriums, I mean, it can't happen now. Why would anybody do that? Like, why would anybody put their house up for sale right now when they can live in it for free? They're hoping they're going to get another job. Why pay rent somewhere else? It could come back.
Well, I mean, the thing is, markets always crash. Markets always go up and down. That's always. Just that there is no like permanent, but we don't know exactly when it's going to happen. That's the thing. And
the housing market trajectory has been up this way for a very long time. And if we didn't have the pandemic that happened right now, there's no way it would have reached the heights that it has reached right now. It's like almost impossible. This was unforeseeable in anybody's mind. There's no doubt it's unsustainable. And then people keep saying, how can you tell people that it's unsustainable? How can you keep telling people that this is their house is overpriced? It's what people are willing to pay for it. Yeah. But once more houses get on the market, we have a lack of supply. Once more houses become available on the market, it's a supply and demand. Just like you said, the supply will be higher, the demand may be less. So may not get as much as you did maybe 6 months earlier. When that will happen, only the heavens know.
Yeah. I think so. I think typically there's like an 18-year cycle between like the peak and the lowest point. Mm-hmm. And there's been 2 times in the last 100 years when that hasn't happened. And one of them was World War II. And then the other one was the 1970s when there was some, big economic crisis or whatever. And I think when there's something like big that happens, it can disrupt that normal cycle. So I think you're right. I think we were probably getting to the peak, if not for 2020. I agree with that 100%. But 2020 caused a new economy in the United States where we have a huge work from home economy, basically. And so many companies that were, went work from home decided to go permanently work from home, or decided to allow employees to choose to work from home if they wanted to. I mean, huge companies. And so I think it's made a whole new economy, and I think it's going to drag it out a little bit longer than it would have had that not happened. I think I think at least 3 to 5 years is my opinion.
I
We don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball.
No,
Be wrong.
I'm not thinking. I don't think 5 years. I think that's a little longer.
It's too long.
It's too long because of the fact that I know it's going to take time for foreclosures to catch up. Because even let's just say June 30th, everybody pulls the plug, and all of the people to say I can't pay. Let's just say that. It still takes 6 to 9 months before those foreclosed homes hit the market. I mean, there's a lot of paperwork involved that you have to go through the courts and everything else. It's not just, that's it. You haven't paid, get out. It takes a lot of time. And every state's a little bit different. Here we go. California is the first state to be reset. The state of California is now has the first right of refusal to purchase all foreclosures. They are driving people out of the state. Prop 13 will be repealed. Don't know enough about the California market. I've had agents from California on. I should have them on again because their market is still like kicking. As many people that are supposedly leaving in droves from California, and I've seen it in many markets, there's just as many that are moving around in California.
I want to know what this means. What he asked. So the state has the first right to refuse to purchase all foreclosures, so people can't foreclose. Is that what that means? What does that mean?
I think the state gets to buy the foreclosures. What he's saying. That would be my guess. Jason, let me know. I did get a super chat. I did want to highlight this. If anybody has a question, please put the word question in there first, and then write the question out so that way I can see it easily, because there's a lot of chatter going on between.
So I heard a funny law the other day that apparently in California it's illegal for builders to engage with California buyers who are leaving the state. So I mean, I was told this by a buyer who was wanted to buy new construction, and the builder told them, "We're not allowed to talk to you. You have to contact an agent," because it's like they're marketing to California people to try and get them to move. And two different builders told me this and confirmed it. So they're not, and I don't know if it's like a state by state. I think, yeah, it is a state by state thing. They told me there's 2 states where that's not the case, but in North Carolina it is. They're not allowed to market. New construction builders are not allowed to market to California buyers. Isn't that the craziest thing you've ever heard?
Yeah, very crazy.
Totally crazy.
Whatever. How can you stop that on social media though?
Well, because like Facebook has all these laws that like they sift through our ads to make sure they're legal.
I didn't get to read his. I need to read his super chat. He says, "Love you, Kristina, your beautiful family, and kick butt on your channel. Keep doing good work. Thank you so much." Well, there's another thing about California buyers in construction that I found very interesting is that you can put in a contract on a new construction home, but the days before the contract is set to close, if the home cost has gone up, the buyer has to cover it.
In California, the buyer has to. That's so if the builder quotes the buyer a particular price and then they don't meet their obligation, so that's not like the builder's contract?
It's in the contract that because the home prices have fluctuated so much that at the time of closing, that's when you know exactly how much the house costs, because there was a change in lumber prices, there was a change in material prices, there was a influx of costs throughout the area. So you could schedule it and have it built. And then 9 months later, what you bought it for could be a lot more by the time you get to closing.
You should have a first right of refusal, at least. I get that when prices are going up, that the builder
You don't
can't.
have to buy it. You don't have to buy it at that point.
But do you lose your builder's deposit? That's usually a lot of money.
I'm not a cow. I wish I knew. That was I had Julie Patterson on, and when she said that, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Oh, this is what Hawaiians are in desperate need of manufactured and modular solutions, but virtually no companies ship here. I know. I have a subscriber. His name's Boiled Nuts, and he was like, "We don't have manufactured homes. They would be fantastic here." But I think there's some kind of laws that won't allow for. I could be completely wrong about this, John, but I think there's some laws that don't allow for modular or manufactured homes on the islands themselves. So
Wow.
I'm not 100% sure about that. So check on that. He says, we got a lot of foreclosures, people in foreclosure now. Rick, where are you at? I would love to know that. That'd be interesting to find out, because I know in Austin, Texas, the foreclosures that are available are gone within minutes. And even investors that are local investors that usually buy these houses at the auction house, they say every time they go to bid, they get bid $1 over their highest mark. $1. So they have to stop at 3,000, let's say $3,195. The highest bid will be $3,196 just to win it. Isn't that the pits?
That's crazy. They must use an escalation clause. They must use an escalation clause that's like $1 over the highest amount or something. So sorry, go ahead.
They're owned by the company. So the companies say whatever it takes to win it. I don't care what it is, just win the bid. So they have this one guy sitting there. And even though it could be even owned, let's just say that I'm making a for instance, let's just say the company is AT&T. They'll have another company, and it's not called AT&T Real Estate. They'll call it like Memory Lane Real Estate Investment Company, even though it's owned by AT&T.
Okay,
so
of course.
So that way you don't know that AT&T is buying all these. And I'm not, and let me preface this again. I'm not saying AT&T is doing this. I'm just saying
using
there's
that as an example.
Yeah. So, because I don't come after me. Where is Rick from? I want to find where he's at. He didn't answer me where he's from. Oh, Arizona. Oh, I wonder what area.
Really? Arizona is a crazy hot market.
I know. Like I have Javier. You know Javier.
Oh yeah, Javier's in Arizona.
Yeah, he can't find any first-time home buyer homes for his clients that he's
out of the
traditionally has priced out.
Yeah, people in the under 300 market here are pretty much priced out. It's just too little, too late.
Oh, let's see here. I'm just pulling up a question here. Let's see. Can you talk more about the Prop 13 still being repealed? This would be devastating. I don't know honestly, David, I couldn't, that's a California thing. And I need to have a California agent on here. But David, I think I will find a California agent for next week. I'm probably going to do this on Saturday, because I don't know if you know this, next Sunday is Easter Bunny time.
Yes.
And I have gotten my vaccine. So I'm going to be visiting my family for the first time since then. So I wanted to do that, but I do want to show you this. I have another article here real quick. This is a very good one. This surprised me. Oops. I hate when it does this. Did you read this?
Existing home sales fell sharply in February as supply dropped by the largest amount of record. Oh, I believe that. I believe that. We had nothing. And that's like I was saying, I was trying to see what's closed recently. Nothing's closed because we don't have any houses. So nothing's selling.
Yep. What do you think would be another reason why more people aren't putting their house up for market? Of course, I say the coronavirus, and I think that could change pretty soon.
I think because people are afraid to get into this market, they're afraid they won't be able to find a new house.
I think another reason, though, is that a lot of people, they're not just afraid, but they're thinking that they're just going to go ahead and just stay in their little house. There's no reason they can work from home. They don't have to be closer to work. Like, why move?
Well, to get a bigger house or to upsize or downsize. We're a great example. We desperately need to upsize. I've got 3 teenage boys and 3 dogs in this house and it's small, and we have been wanting to move for a while. But it's a difficult market. I haven't personally been wanting to try and navigate this market. It's just too crazy, and there's too few houses out there. And it seems like to me, like if I wanted to stay in my same area, you can't get that much more for the price. Like I'd have to go from 400 to 700,000. I'd have to go up $300,000 or $400,000 to get much more than what I have. So I can get a house a little bit bigger, but it's just not worth it. I'd have to go way out into the country to get something. If I want to go up a couple $100,000 or something like that, I have to go way out in the country to get something that's actually bigger. And I don't want to do that. I think it's just a difficult market to buy into.
I know, because I was like, oh, I could make a mint on my house right now, but where the heck am
Where
I
would
going to
you
go?
Yeah,
Where am I going to go?
Open Door keeps sending me things saying they want to buy my house, and it keeps going up like $100,000, and I'm like, okay, no.
I was reading I was reading a Facebook thread of real estate agents that were not complaining. They were basically talking about how prices of homes have gotten so ridiculous. And you had 2 camps of people that were talking. And one of them was saying, this is the best market ever. Like prices are never going to go down, which I was like, are you kidding me? And they were like, well, it's not fair because people are overpaying for the house. And what like a few people said they're not overpaying because they're getting this house for what they're willing to buy it for. That's what the market dictates. But the other answer, which I gave, was yes, they're overpaying because the appraised value comes in and it's saying that the house is not worth $250,000. The comps aren't saying it's worth $250,000. But they're paying the sellers $300,000, and they're taking out their own life savings to purchase this. That's a lot to risk. That's a lot of money. I don't have an extra $50,000-$60,000 laying around to go, you know what? Let's hope this value sticks. That's a scary place to be at.
It is.
And I think what people aren't thinking about is I want you guys to try to go to your local bank and see if you can get an equity line of credit right now, a HELOC. And most banks are not even allowing you to get a HELOC, meaning that they're not even confident in the value of your home and how much it's increased, and they're willing to give you a loan on that value. So if I owed like let's just say I owed 200,000 and I had the house was worth 500,000, they're not going to give you a line of credit right now over that 300,000 because they're not sure if that equity in your line of credit would even hold right now. They're nervous about it, so they're not even willing to give out HELOCs. What does that tell you? There's volatility in the market. All right, here we got a question. Kristen Moses. Okay. Question: can I sell my house for $100,000 profit? Should I wait to buy another home and rent in the meantime until the market normalizes?
No.
I don't know what market you live in, first of all. So everybody's housing market's going to be different. So we would gain like 20, 30,000 here in Austin, Texas. It could be $150,000 more in profit. The other thing is, how long are you going to wait until you decide, like how long? So let's just say you wait 2 years before you purchase a house. Great. The housing prices have gone down exponentially. You're now getting this house that was $200,000 for $175,000 or $150,000. You're like, fantastic. But let's just say the interest rates are at 6.5%. You didn't win anything. It's the same amount. Now you're paying more to the bank than you are to the principal of the house. So you didn't win. You have to really weigh this out. I always say to people, because they always ask, should I buy a house right now? And I'm like, can you afford to buy a house? Do you have a nest egg of money? Are you buying this house because you need to purchase a house? will it be less to purchase this house and the mortgage payment than it would to rent this specific house? If all those answers are, yeah, I'm totally fine. I can buy a house. Like I can buy a house. I have nothing to worry about. And you plan on living that house for the next 5 to 7 years, don't even sweat it. Buy a house.
Yes.
But if you're on the fence for all those things, you're borrowing money from your mom and dad, you're asking grandma to help you with a down payment just so you can have a house in a neighborhood because your friend bought a house, do not buy a house. Do not buy a house. You're not ready to buy a house. Stop it. Like, stop it. If you're cashing in your life savings to purchase a house, stop it. Do not do that.
I agree with you. That's exactly what I say. You buy a house when you can afford to buy a house, and this is what I tell people, don't treat your house like an investment. That idea that your house is an investment, it's your home. It's your home. Buy it to live there. Don't expect to flip it in 3 years and buy something else and make money off of it. If you want to invest money, I would say if you really want to invest money, see if the bank will give you a line of credit, take some cash out and buy an investment property. I personally wouldn't be comfortable buying an investment property right now because I don't know how long we're on this roller coaster. But I would never use my house as like a game to play the market. I just think that's crazy. People need a place to live, a home,
Mm-hmm. If you have enough line of credit, though, you can take that. If you already have a HELOC and you have a line of credit, we have a lack of rental properties here, and money to borrow is so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can get it like if you can find a house and you can turn it into a rental property and get good rent on it and all the numbers even out, I still don't think it's a bad idea to take your money that's sitting there doing absolutely nothing and turn it into cash, moving cash.
Right. Yeah.
So money's cheap. You can get money cheap. Okay, I've seen online much else is scalping people by. I've seen online just like much else, it's scalping people, buy things and then put it online, run up cost as bidding wars, trying to buy ammunition if you can find normal prices to go gun broker site. I have no idea. It was a long comment and I thought it was going to be about real estate and not being one about real estate. So we're just going to move on. Construction Crony says it's nuts. You see 300,000 plus to get a home in a decent neighborhood. Young American families are being forced into ghettos. No discrimination there. He was just saying there's no discrimination. I think what's going to happen is if the prices continue to go up, and I talk about affordable housing options all the time. Mm-hmm. If the home prices do go up, I definitely believe we're going to see a lot more different types of affordable housing options that are going to be given to Americans, because not people aren't going to want to rent. They're going to want a slice of life.
Yes.
So like your little cottages, of course, they were very expensive, but
yeah, they were.
It's very possible, though, and this has been done, I've said this before, after World War II, the government gave out pieces of property for cheap, gave lumber at a cost that was cheap, and they allowed home builders to build really small homes for vets after they came back from World War II. They gave them like a VA loan, and it was cheap homes.
Right.
I think what the federal government needs to do is allow for homes to have a mortgage for less than $65,000, which they do not have now. And then they need to build homes at that price range, little tiny homes that, like a single American could live in, little tiny homes. And that way those people could build wealth. And, one house right after another, they could easily do it in a college town where there's around here, we've got tons of areas that are full of cows. It's possible.
Yeah.
They've done it before. They did it in New Jersey. They've done it all over the place. You can do it again. There's lots of vacant, even lots in California. They could rebuild those areas that are just concrete lots and put little tiny houses and let people purchase them and build wealth again. It's possible. So I don't know. What's your solution?
I think it's migration. I think people just have to move to other areas that don't yet have an infrastructure and build it. smaller towns like here, an hour from here, there's a town called Siler City. And, there's not much around there. There's cows. It's got a cute little downtown. It's a nice little town, but it's not commutable to anything. You have to move, people have to move there and create an infrastructure, build up what we built. I mean, Raleigh was at one point a tiny little town, right? Everything has to start somewhere. So I just think people will have to move to more affordable areas that are in outlying areas, and those areas will grow up and be cities. That's all.
Those rural people are going to be really mad to see their little
They
towns
are,
grow.
they are, but that's happening around here too. I mean, there's that city where we did the cottages. That home is a 4,000 person town. That neighborhood is going to have, I think, 25,000 properties. Or people, not properties, people.
I was going to say, my gosh. But is it all by the same builder? The whole?
No, there's multiple builders.
Okay. Are they all cottages?
No, there's big. Those are the only ones that were small like that.
Okay.
So I think, 25,000 people. So the size of that town is just blowing up. And they're building a whole research park there for, a corporate park or whatever, so that there's going to be jobs there in that town, because it's a little bit far removed. So I think things like that have to happen, and people go where there's opportunity, and they get pushed out of where they are. But I think that's always happened. It's no different than what has happened for thousands and thousands of years. And there's never been
hundreds of years in the good old hundreds of years here in the good old United States. Because I mean, even this little town that I moved to, when I moved here, it didn't have honestly, just to go and go to the big city just to get regular stuff. They only had a few local restaurants, and now it's every time something comes in, they're like, "Oh, look, there's a Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, look, we got ourselves a Taco Bell. Oh, look.
Taco Bell, huh?"
Well, I mean, those were things that had happened over time, Then we got there's all sorts of stuff that's popping up all over the place. Always. We have a lot of chemical factories around here. People get moved. They're moving around here. So it's nice. It's nice to see the town grow up, but a lot of people are like, "This is our town. Where did our small town go to?" I'm like,
that's how everybody always feels when people move in,
Warren P says, question, will you explain why with such a shortage of inventory, I'm not seeing hardly any building going on? It seems like it can't be as simple as building materials have gone way up. Can it? What's your opinion?
I think it is as simple as, I think the number of people actually wanting to buy and relocate is astronomical. So in 2020, everybody went remote. So now all of a sudden everybody's saying, well, where do I want to live? I don't have to live here. Where do I want to live? So now you've got this huge group of people migrating all across the US to smaller cities. Combine that with the inventory or the building supply shortage because of stuff being shut down from 2020. And I think those two things combined is exactly what's causing it. I mean, I think it can be that simple, honestly.
We've had building delays because of things not coming in on time. So let's just say they got the concrete in, they got the house framed, and they were waiting for all the wrap, the plastic wrap that goes on outside the house, the vapor wrap. And they're just waiting on that. So they're there, these boards just sitting there waiting to be wrapped, and then my husband worked for a roofing company. They let him go because they couldn't get, they just didn't have enough work. They had tons of work for them to do,
but no materials.
No materials. So it's what are you doing? You keep selling all this stuff. You keep selling, but we can't deliver on the sales that we have. So because we don't have the building supply. So
that stinks.
No kidding. And they let them go. They let them go. They're like, we can't afford to pay you anymore, but whatever. So I believe it's that simple. And a lot of it, and a lot of builders don't want to start building a house and that they can't finish, and so they're less willing to build. Normally let's just say they'd start 6 projects at the same time.
Right.
They're less willing to do that unless they know for sure someone's going to purchase.
Agreed. Definitely.
Stick and brick construction compounded by Byzantine zoning laws. Byzantine is archaic. There are ways of cheaper, efficient modes of building available, but they're allowed but not allowed by regulations. Well, he said old shopping malls, and I don't know if you guys I don't know if you saw that video, but said that old shopping malls, you could turn those into condos easily. And
Mhm.
you loosen up some buying restrictions as far as home loans are concerned for people that are willing to purchase a condo in some old commercial properties, rezone that area. I mean, it'd be very simple for an area to do that, to allow for more people to live closer to the city and closer to their jobs. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, a gaming company just bought our shopping mall.
Mhm.
What is it? I can't remember the name of it. But they make their big video game company. They bought our shopping mall and they're turning it into their headquarters.
Oh, Ryan, what is it that I'm not answering? I don't know what Ryan thinks I'm not answering. Ryan says I'm answering. On average, what is the percentage of the final sale that you see or seeing clients put down? What percentage do you recommend? Well, in order to win the
It's to
offer,
win
you
the
want
bid.
to to win the bid, they got to put down as much as you can.
Yeah.
Honest to
I'm seeing somewhere between 3 and 10% right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was gonna say 5,
Yeah.
10% down. And they're waiving inspections. They're waiving appraisal contingencies, meaning that if it doesn't appraise, they're willing to pay the overage or whatever, meet the difference within a certain range. Let's just say within
Right.
so many $1,000s. They're basically buying as is. Even all the inspections that go through there, it's basically for the buyer's information only. If there's something wrong with it, they're not even asking the sellers to repair those items. They're not asking for home warranties. They just want to move in, quick sell, quickly as you can to get out of the house. It's crazy.
Or leasebacks. We're seeing leasebacks for sellers so that sellers can lease back and then find a house to buy or wait for their house to be built or whatever.
Yep. I love boiled nuts. He's from Hawaii. He says, please start your questions with the word question before commenting.
Thanks for keeping everybody in line.
All right. Am the man question. Do you think that this is a massive asset bubble? Ellen?
Asset, but can you tell me what you mean by asset bubble? Like housing bubble? What's an asset?
I think it's a asset bubble. If you're referring to a housing bubble, I 100% think it is.
So people are going to lose their assets from their home. I'm not as sure as Kristina. I think that we're allowed to disagree.
We're absolutely.
Yeah. I think eventually it will, markets go up and down. I think it'll go down. But I see, because so many people are working from home and you're now taking huge populations of people and stretching them over a large area. I feel like it's going to cause a semi-permanent change to the market. I don't think it's going to crash. It might slow down. I think the thing that I think could crash it is if all of those companies that now have all these work from home employees decide that, well, hey, if I don't need people that are going to be in the office, I can actually hire people from outside the country. That's something that I think could cause a big significant issue with the housing market. So I think there's a lot of issues here. I'm not necessarily thinking we're headed towards a big crash. A correction, maybe not so. I mean, there are areas like Seattle that have hardly seen their markets go down in many, many, many years. They haven't had crashes there. I mean, since the 80s, I think they haven't had a downturn at all since the 80s. So something like that is possible. I don't think it's possible to know it, honestly. There's too many moving parts. Too many variables.
I think there's going to be some areas that aren't going to see as much as a shift as they're probably hoping.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Austin, Texas is being one of them.
I agree.
Yep. Phoenix, Arizona, I don't think they're going to see anything. But Las Vegas could. Yeah. Las Vegas definitely could. That's one of those ones that's always been, they bet high. They bet way too high. They bet way over the market and then they lose. They really lose.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be it depends from place to place.
Yeah. But like, I get concerned when I hear like somebody lives in this Hoboken town that's 45 minutes away from the like local hospital, and they just bid $40,000 over asking price to win the offer.
Yes.
Those areas to
Yeah.
me are going to bust.
Yeah.
And so I'm concerned for those
Unless
specific
they
areas.
develop a new kind of economy, like I was saying, like unless that becomes an economic center where there are jobs there too, I think that could help. But yeah, I agree. I would be very wary of spending way over list price or whatever in a rural area. That's not a good idea.
No. Is it normal for a realtor to request a buyer to pay a realtor fee
The
instead
question of the century.
Go ahead, answer that. Is it normal for a realtor to request a buyer to pay a realtor fee instead of getting it out of the transaction? Thanks. Go ahead.
Okay, let me think about if this is if we're allowed to talk about this. Is this one of those like
because you can't fix like a commission rate,
price fixing, or I'm just trying to make sure if it's one of those like price fixing issues. It's not how it's typically done in most markets. It's traditionally been the seller's agent has shared a portion of their commission with the buyer's agent. But I think I'm seeing more of this I'm seeing more of it. It's becoming more common. I haven't seen it in my market yet, but I've heard other people in other markets talking about it. And I think as things get more competitive, everybody in the deal has to compete, so that competition.
Ellen and I are part of a lot of real estate groups, private groups that are just for real estate agents. And one of the things that showed up was that these people were showing a marketing agreement that said that the buyer's agent, meaning the real estate agent that was representing the buyers purchasing the house, only received $1 in commission.
I saw that.
$1. So basically you would have to negotiate with your buyer saying, hey, if you want this house, you can still purchase it. If you want me to represent you, do all the contract paperwork, do everything you need me to do, you're going to have to pay me because the sellers are unwilling to give me any kind of commission like they normally would. They're not accepting that. And that's up to the buyers if they want to go ahead and pay that buyer's agent to purchase the house. If not, you're going in on your own. So you're going to have to find out what attorneys you're going to need for the purchase of this house. You're going to need to know how to fill out a contract. You're going to need to understand addendums. You're going to need to know your inspectors. You're going to need to know if you need to have a survey of the property. You're going to need to know the numbers of a survey. You're going to need to know like you get a termite certificate. Like you're going to have to know all these things ahead of time. And if you're going to go in and at it alone, this is why you hire a real estate agent professional. So that's up to the buyers. I've seen it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's been I've seen a couple posts like this, not here. I haven't seen it in my specific area, but I have seen it. Let's see if we had any more questions here. Here we got a question. Here we go. Question. Do you think with more jobs becoming automated, there is going to be deflationary pressures and unemployment could eventually crash the housing market? I think it crash all markets. That has been one of those things. I don't know if you watch Andrew. Have you ever seen Andrew Yang?
I think I've seen one or two of his things. Yeah. Does he have like a YouTube? I mean, I don't know if
this was when he was running for president.
Okay.
Yeah, he was talking about this, and that was his biggest concern was automation of a lot of people's jobs is going to happen, and how are we going to handle that? One of the first things he's most concerned about is truck drivers, because most of those cars they are automating them. Basically, they could have somebody sitting in there, but the truck is driving itself.
I have an opinion about this. So a lot of people are afraid of automation and think it's going to like destroy the country and 80% of our jobs are going to go away. Personally, I think that it is going to open up the market for creative people to do more creative work, because think about all the stuff that's automation. It's all the boring stuff that nobody wants to do anyway. You know what I mean? It's the checkout people. It's the, just all the stuff that can be done by a machine is going to go away. But then think about this, Kristina, we've made a living off of YouTube. You know what I mean? This is creative work, like creating videos and things like that. Like my son's going to school for video game, like writing, like he's going to be a writer and there's so much work in the creative space that it's astronomical. And I think it'll just be a shift of like where jobs are, like what types of things people do to earn a living. That's what I think.
But who's going to sling our pizzas? Like our kids need to have these jobs where they're checking out groceries, and they need to have this. They need to build some kind of work ethic. But maybe I'm thinking closed-minded because I mean, like they could easily do what I'm doing. My daughter.
Well, your daughter's doing a YouTube channel, right?
She stopped doing that. Are you kidding?
Okay.
Just like anything, like, oh, this is a great idea. Oh, I had a viral hit. I don't want to do it anymore.
But you know what? Whichever daughter that is the artist, she can sell her pieces. She is good enough to sell her pieces. There is no doubt about it. I think that there's room for creatives in the new market. I think it's a good thing, honestly.
This is so funny that you say that. So I made a deal with her that this is totally off topic, but I made a deal with her that she could, because she's so good at it, that she could get an iPad if she met this goal, and she met the goal today. So she's getting an iPad with the pen because she's a very good artist. But the other one is flipping trading cards, and she literally bought the trading card for $400, which made me want to throw up. She sold it for over $1,000 yesterday.
Wow. That's amazing.
I know. Yeah. Well, all right. I already answered this question. Lending will crash the market with when the 500 trillion in bond markets fails. Normies will forget the rich and get richer in down markets. Your view and hopes are skewed from those in control.
I don't understand what that meant. Honestly.
Well, I do believe there's a financial divide. I mean, as crazy as it kind of was like doom and gloom, there is a financial divide that's happening throughout the country. You have people that are uber freaking rich. They are getting much richer from this pandemic because they knew we were going to invest that money before it even all started. They had unfair advantage to the rest of the world. And they took advantage of it, and they've made a boatload of money. And it makes me sad because people that worked regular jobs, like people that worked for FedEx as delivery people, and somebody else that worked at the post office, and the milkman, and all those people could afford a little house, could afford a house. Right. Now those people have to work 3 jobs just to be able to pay rent.
Yeah.
That's disgusting to me.
Or life has gone place less expensive.
But even our area is not that expensive, but God forbid you even get sick. You have the cost of living has gotten so expensive. The cost of medical care is just ridiculous. The cost of just living and being now is quadruple what it was when we were younger. Yeah. And I worry for my kids. And it's not about housing, but I worry because it does. Housing affects everything when it comes.
No, I've got kids on that. I mean, my daughter's 21 and my son's 19. I mean, they're in that age that is really affected by this, And we've talked about actually leaving our city and going to a different city so that my kids would have more opportunity because this city has gotten so expensive. I mean, that's definitely been a regular conversation in our house.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We got some people that are let's be nice, everybody. Like there's no reason to, like, one of the worst ways to have a conversation and an argument with somebody is when you start name calling people. And
what name did they call?
I'm not even getting into their little battle they're having in here, but like, don't insult people's intelligence because they have a different viewpoint than them. I actually got into a conversation, and I told you this on Facebook, and it was about the housing market. We went back and forth, and neither one of us did the whole name calling thing. And at the end, we ended up coming to an agreement. And I said, holy cow, we had a whole thread of 2 opposing opinions. And sure enough, at the end, we had a grown-up conversation. He said, I think if everybody just turned off the TV, stopped being online, and had real conversations, we could get a lot more accomplished.
Yes. Yes. People have got to learn to disagree nicely and listen to somebody else's opinion that disagrees with you, for goodness sakes.
I'm lucky that I have some moderators in here that do remove bad actors. I guess that's what they say. That's one thing they say. Kids today are so confused, unfocused. They don't desire to stick with anything for very long. I agree. Jobs will change. And with that, some workers will not be able to find what they can do.
Yeah.
The thing is too, though, jobs affect homes. And I know we're kind of getting off subject, but if high schools started teaching people real skills in high school that they could use out in the real world, more computerized skills, that they could
Yes.
literally leave high school and go to those computerized jobs, I think we'd be in a lot better shape than we're in right now.
There's no
Because
reason that shouldn't be happening. There's no good reason that that does not happen. They're in school for 13 years and they have no skills when they leave. It's a crime as far as I'm concerned. It's a crime.
when I was in school, you could take other courses. You could actually even take a like car mechanics course. You could do that. There was different diplomas. You could take drafting and all these other things that could prepare you if you had no desire to go to college, that prepared you to have a job that you could do outside of high school, a good paying job on top of it all.
Yeah.
They need to do that again. And I don't know how to fix that.
Even
We can't solve the world's problems in a year.
Even if they didn't want to do that, like they didn't want to do whatever they were learning, they learn competence by doing those skills. You know what I mean? You learn a skill and you gain competence in it. Even if it's not like you want to be a mechanic, it's still valuable because you've learned competence, how to accomplish something. I don't know. Yeah, it's a good idea.
So TKB, I don't know if you saw my show last week, but I did actually talk about this couple in California that purchased a home in California for a really good deal. And they actually put in all their money to buy it cash because the seller needed to sell fast and the actual real estate agent represented both sides.
Oh, that's sweet. Sweet. Yeah.
So both sides.
Never do that. I won't do it.
Me either. I will not represent dual agency because this is the kind of nonsense that ends up happening. They get to the closing table. And once they get to the closing table, they found out there was a lien that ends up getting taken care of. A tax lien was taken care of, and they close on the property. Now, I don't know how in some states at the day of closing, you do not take possession of the house. In Texas, I think that's one of them. Here, the minute the ink is dry, you grab the keys and you walk over, and the house is yours. So this is what that couple thought was going to happen. They went to grab the keys and the sellers refused to leave. They will not leave the house. The buyers have purchased it cash and they cannot leave because in California, they have squatters' rights. Even though they were not renters, they cannot force these people out of their house. They said they've had 8 instances of this happening.
So here we do a final walkthrough. If they're not moved out, we don't close.
We can do a final walkthrough if they even this has happened here before where 3 days before closing and we went to go do the final walkthrough and they hadn't moved anything, not one piece of furniture. And the real estate agent didn't explain to them that once it closes, you have to move out. She thought she had more time.
Oh my!
No one explained it to her. And she's like, I'm going to need time to move out. And they're like, we're buying this house and you're moving out. So she ended up calling a bunch of people, Yeah. So what are you going to there's nothing in California. This is one of those things. They have squatters' rights there. They've always had a problem with people that haven't paid rent that won't leave a house. There's been movies even made about it. It's almost impossible to evict somebody in California. It's very difficult. But it's not a problem all over the United States. It just seems to be focused right now in California. I'm surprised you haven't heard about this. Yes, Kristina, but I thought schools did teach computer courses and they don't have any VOTEC anymore. They don't have a VOTEC diploma, and their computer courses they teach, the students are teaching the teachers. Those teachers don't know what the heck they're doing. They honestly, they're they have no clue. It needs to be better. Yeah. Vocational education. That's right. You got a vocational diploma. Okay. Question. Paid off house currently renting all the time, high market rate. Should I sell or keep renting? Paid off house currently renting it all the time, high market rate. Should I sell or keep it renting? I would keep it renting. If you have an income producing property right now, I would still keep that income producing property.
I mean, if you sell it, you're going to have to invest the money somewhere else. It's already invested somewhere that's making a nice return for you. So why move it?
Unless you're planning on moving somewhere else.
Yeah.
That would be the only thing. All right, here we go. S has another question. Do you think that rent control is bad because it prevents wealth gain for landlords and keeps more homes off the market with what's that word?
Exacerbates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm dyslexic, so that was a big one. That was a big word for Kristina. Exacerbate supply issue. I don't have an opinion about this because I don't deal with this kind of rent control problem like they do in New York. Do you have any opinion about this?
Well, I think I've not dealt with it a lot, but I think rent controls decentivize people to have rental properties. And so then people that can't purchase homes, if landlords can't actually, if it can't be profitable for a landlord, then they won't purchase rentals, and then there won't be enough supply for people to rent. So I think it can do that, but I don't know enough about it to, I mean, I know that in areas where there are rent controls, they have problems with lack of supply. So
I have my brother has a friend whose family has a rent control property, and it just keeps passing down the line. And like, she has this huge apartment in New York. I mean, like in a really like what we consider swanky area, something you would see in a movie. And I think she pays like $1,019 a month.
What?
Yeah, I know. They like, it was her grandma's, and then grandma lives there and everything. So anyways, question, ballpark numbers, ladies, what percentage of your clients are first-time home buyers in the last year? I sold 2 houses to first-time home buyers this year, or in the past 12 months.
I don't tend to get first-time buyers just in general, but I don't think I may be misremembering, but I don't think any of them were. I don't think I've had one.
The one that I had that she cashed in her 401k to purchase a house.
Wow.
And I just had another one, which this was a lender's problem. I just had another girl that was buying a house for the first time. Ended up having an excellent seller, negotiated the price, was willing to fix the items that were on the property, everything. Like, we went through the whole thing. It was like the most normal sale I had in a year. And we get all the way to the closing table. The lender never verified the buyer's income. What? I have a letter that says the income had been verified. And he said this was unforeseeable. I'm like, how is that
unforeseeable? You could have seen if you looked. Oh my gosh.
And he was like, well, that was because, I mean, there was like all this stuff. And then I said, well, why don't you take the loan package and send it to I have another mortgage broker that could look this over, since you're going to send this mortgage over to service it anyways. Why don't you give it to them and they can handle it from here? He wouldn't send it over. And I think it's because he messed up.
Of course he messed up.
Of course he messed up, and he would not hand that freaking loan package over.
There needs to be some kind of consequences for that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
I agree. And if it belongs to her and it's her information, first of all, he lied. He said, I can't send the information over because of the fact that it's confidential information. And I said, that's a lie, because it's your information. So if you want to send that information over to the person, to the company that they were going to service the loan anyways, and you want them to have that, he most certainly could do that. Then he changed the story again and said, well, look, the thing is your real estate agent is wasting your time because there's nothing that being done. I've done everything. I've been doing this for 20 years. You don't need to listen to her. Listen to me. This is over with. And she listened to him.
She didn't get the house?
No.
Oh, man.
10 days before closing.
Wow.
10 days.
You surely could have gotten somebody else to fund her if she had been willing. That's terrible.
I know the people that I know the company that was going to service her loan, and they would not release the package. So mad. Here's a question. Here we go. I'm seeing that's a problem. People are complaining that they can't buy multiple homes at a reasonable price, but many people can't even get their hands on one. Both problems. Both problems.
Who's buying multiple, like investors?
Yeah, because they want hard assets. That's what I'm seeing. I'm literally watching every real estate related YouTuber. Yeah, it's addictive. We like the YouTube. Here, question: pros and cons of buying a one bedroom, one bath house in a detached garage. That would depend on your market. I personally have one bedroom, one bathroom houses that I rent out, and I wish I had 100 of them because they rent
They rent easily.
like firecrackers. Somebody's getting divorced, they want one. If somebody's their kid needs to move out and they just had a baby, they go and rent one of these. Everybody wants those little one bedroom, one bath houses. But that's in my specific area. And it's how much is it price per square foot? What is the resale availability on that? If you were to purchase it, I would live in it until you couldn't, like, you didn't want to live in it anymore. Keep saving money, but always keep that piece of property, always, because it will rent like crazy. If you have a one bedroom, one bath house with a garage, people will love that.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know that I've ever sold one here. They just don't. That's not a popular thing here. Town condos, yeah, but not houses.
Do you know anything about drywall? If you don't know anything about drywall, you got to see Paul Peck Drywall. He is the master of drywalling. Anytime you want to drywall anything, I actually need to contact Paul Peck because I have a bubble in here I need to ask him about. All right, there was another question. I missed it. I'm just keep skipping through. I don't mean to. Oh, that was the pros and cons one here. Hold on. I'm trying not to miss your questions. I'm sorry if I did. All right, this will be our last question here. No, it won't be our last question. What should I prepare to pay in closing costs in a red hot market? How much you're willing to put down? That's the key. How much are you willing to pay over? What you need to ask your real estate agent in your specific area. What does it take to get a house under contract right now? Because everybody's going to have a different answer. Some people are going to say you're going to have at least $30,000 cash. You're going to have to say absolutely no contingencies. Some people will say you're going to have a fast closing. Make sure your house can, you can close within a few days. Some people will say every market's going to have a different way to get that specific contract in that area closed and closed fast, so you can win the deal. What do you say?
Well, is she talking about closing costs or is she talking about like bidding over? I mean,
I think she did say closing costs. Go ahead.
The closing costs aren't going to make a difference. They're not going to be different in a hot market versus a not hot market. It's going to be the same regardless of what the market's like. And it's just all of your, your closing stuff, your insurance, funding, your all of that kind of stuff. I think that's what she means. I don't know, because it shouldn't make a difference.
Nah. Unless you want your payment to be less.
And it really varies. It varies on what type of loan you've got, what your credit is. I mean, we can't answer that because there's just too many variables that we couldn't know.
I have a long-time subscriber. His name is Lawnmower, and he loves to change the details of his Zillow listing of his house. I think he's made it had 6 bathrooms and stuff. So now he's going to change it to a 1 bedroom on Zillow and see what happens. Because he loves to see what the valuation comes out. Oh, see, Gypsy says, yes, I've always heard 1 bedroom, 1 bath has no resale value. It may not in your area, but I'm telling you what, it's a rental gold mine. I would have 100 of those houses. I wish I had more. If I could find more, every time something comes on the market where it says 2 bedroom, 1 bath, I'm like, oh, pick me. I want it because nobody else wants it. And they rent hot cakes, instantly. Question: the new buyer who overpays becomes the B comp, and it's not overpriced any longer. That if that's only one comparable, if you have one comparable that, let's just say, it's at 300, but the other ones in the neighborhood are 200. It's an average cost. It doesn't the whole neighborhood doesn't automatically come up to 300,000. That's not how this works. They take all the recent comps and they average them all together in the last 6 months. Question: should there be a cap for new home how many properties an investor can own if they do not live in the state?
I would love, I mean, I don't like answering questions like that because I feel like if you say yes, there's so many variables that I haven't considered. But generally speaking, I think that would be a good idea. Not having people from other areas coming in here and making the competition even worse than it is if they're not planning on living here. I would lean towards, I like that.
There's a lot of people in Florida that bought their homes in, let's just say, the early 80s, rented it out for all those years, kicked the renters out when they were ready to retire, revamped the whole entire house and moved in there when they retired.
Oh, yeah. Vacation areas like that, or heavy retirement areas like that, I could see. But that's different. That's like a second home. Like, so they're saying a cap on how many properties. So a retiree would buy one property. You know what I mean? They wouldn't buy 20 or 50 or whatever. And
some do.
Oh, really?
Some do. When you live in Florida, you'll see that like there's people they're investors and they're investing for their retirement. So they'll do that. They'll rent out a bunch of different little areas around the area they plan on living, see which one caps out the best. And, it's a great tax deduction for them. And it's a great investment property for them.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. What do you think, Kristina?
I don't even know how you could regulate that.
Yeah.
Honestly, because you know what they'll do? Investors will go, okay, well, this is what I'll do is I'll go ahead and establish an LLC in South Carolina. And now I have a company in South Carolina. And now I can buy more properties.
Right. Yeah.
You can't even police that.
Of course.
People are smart.
Yeah. That's why it's so hard to make laws, because people will get around any law, He
says, question, why do I need to write question before the question? That's because that way I can find it, because there's so many people that are question, what's wrong with paying cash for a home? I was attacked in this chat for waiting to do that after I sell my home. To each his own, like everybody has an opinion these days, and you do what's right for you. And
there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong.
And who cares what anybody says in this chat? You don't know them for poop. And a lot of people sometimes just feel empowered to make other people feel bad because that gives them some kind of strength. So yeah, you should see some of the comments I get. Me and Ellen both, we love to post some of the stuff people say. Question, why does he buy a house over cash in,
Sorry.
Not sure.
Myself.
Because some people will buy, like, they want the house so much. Let's just say the house is listed for $300,000, and they know that there's other cash buyers coming through that are going to be purchasing on this house, but they want to win the bid. So they're willing to give the seller $310,000 or $20,000 so they win that house. So they're willing to pay over the amount that is the asking price. That's common now. It's very common. Ellen, I want to say a happy Passover to you, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. A question. Sorry, I meant to mention earlier that the sellers were not covering, say, the agent. I was just wondering if I'm missing some costs I hadn't thought of. Sorry, I meant to mention earlier that the sellers were not covering.
I think she's saying that, like, she's worried that she might have to end up paying her buyer's agent. Is that going to be like a problem for her? I think that's what she's trying to say.
If it's not been negotiated before the contract beforehand, they can't ask for you to do it afterwards. If everything's been negotiated, you've signed on the dotted line, and then all of a sudden the buyer's agent says to you, well, now you need to pay me. If there's been nothing in writing beforehand, there's nothing you're going to have to pay. And then I would contact their broker right away, because they didn't handle that ahead of time. Well, next Sunday, I'm going to take off because it's Easter Sunday. And I want to say, can everybody give Ellen a very special thank you for coming in and spending an hour and 30 minutes. I did not even realize we had been cranking out as many questions that we had today. And everybody say thank you, Ellen. I want to say
thanks for having me.
Ellen and I actually did a video together. We did cottages versus tiny homes, and they're like what the difference between a cottage and a tiny home was. So you guys want to check that out, you can look in the old backlog there. Ryan, if you have a question, go ahead and post it after this is over with. If you have a question, you go ahead and put it in the comment section, and I'll answer as many questions as I can in that comment section. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and you'll see me in a video on Tuesday. When's your next video coming out, Ellen?
Friday, 5 o'clock.
Friday at 5 o'clock. Well, lucky you, my friend. Bye, everybody. Thank you. Happy Sunday.
Bye.
Bye. We're going to do that.